Hey, how's it going out there? This is the week 6 assignment 1, and in this assignment we're going to be talking about the process of reloading shot shells, and we're also going to discuss the equipment you're going to need and of course some safety precautions. So I'm going to try to keep this real basic because I have a lot of my stuff scattered right now. This room is an absolute mess from just getting prepared for this so-called COVID 1984 virus. So I've been in preps right now trying to just get gun work out, get everything situated, and it's a mess. I'm like too embarrassed to show you my little workspace. Right? Oh my gosh, look at that. It's horrible. No room to work. I'm tired of living in a rent house. I'm ready to get my shop built. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and check out the process for reloading a shot shell. I'm not actually going to reload a shot shell because it's almost time for me to go to work. So this will pretty much cover the assignment and probably more. Let's check it out. So this is the 600 Junior Mark V. So what we have here is just a basic single stage shot shell reloading press. Right here you're going to need a depriming and resizing die, and this would be where when you pull the handle down, the resizing die resizes the shell, but before that happens it pops out the primer. Okay, and then as you let up, this will kick the shell out and you'll have a shell, and you'll move it over to this station. This is your primer drop, and of course I have a fancy automatic primer drop rigged up onto this that can be actuated every time you crimp around. So if you're running a kind of a semi-progressive setup in here and you're manually moving each one, every time you pull the handle down it's going to drop a new primer for you. So basically what happens is when you come down, you slide your shell up over this. You before you have to do that, of course, you would have dropped a primer like that. As you can see, there's a primer in there. And you'd slide your shell up on here. This comes down and seats the new primer into the bottom of the shell. So upon this point in time, what we need to do is we need to move the shell over to here. And we'd insert the shell in here and pull down. Okay, and this is going to be sitting over here, and once we pull down, this part's sitting over the shell, and we would slide our powder drop, and it would drop a charge of powder in here, and we would move up, and now that this wad guide can't be pushed all the way back up because it actuated it over this way, we would set a wad in here and run this down, and then we have a seating pressure gauge right here that would tell us when we drop this, when we set that wad in there, it needs to be set to a certain pressure depending on the recipe. So, like, normally it's about 20 pounds. It can run up to 30. I don't know why this needs to go up to 120, but that's just ridiculous. But there's adjustments that can be made to accommodate different loads and different pressures that needed. But we would make sure that it seats it at whatever the recipe is calling for, and then we would move this over. That would drop our shot. And upon lifting up, this retracts automatically. We're able to move the shell over to here, where, as you can see, we have a nice 6-point crimp deal. This is a brass one from Ballistics Products for doing new shells, or this is an 8-point. My 6 points must be in the reloading room. But from this point, you could pull down, and this would start the crimp of the shell, and then you would slide this over, slide it into this one, and this would finish the crimp. And of course, once it finishes the crimp, it would drop a new primer, so the process can begin all over again. Some things we're going to need. So you're obviously going to need a reloading press. You're going to need the depriming die for whatever gauge you're reloading. You're going to need a seating tube or a primer drop tube. This is obviously a very, very handy piece of equipment because you can slide your primers on here, rip the, slide the cardboard holder off of it, and all your primers are flipped the proper direction, ready to roll. This is an MEC charge bar, so this is a little bit more advanced than what you're going to find on most reloaders, but I like this because it allows precise drops every single time. If I get this set up, of course, to run 24.6 grains of powder, every single time it's going to drop within 1/10 of a grain that exact charge. This is a very, very accurate device, and I'm proud to have this on my reloader. Now, these right here are pretty handy to have because they're made out of solid brass, and they are sharp. They are razor sharp. They will cut you, but they do a great job at cutting new shells in preforming a crimp on new shells. Also, they do a phenomenal job of recrimping old shells. They make the crimps look really good. And then, of course, this is our crimp finisher. This would finish the fold on the crimp, and of course, it has to be adjusted from time to time depending on what your round's looking like and what your wad height is. So some safety precautions, especially with this press, that we have to look out for. Obviously, we're not going to smoke around powder, but your powder and shot are contained up here. But the biggest thing you have to watch out for is every now and then when you're moving around, and I like to use this thing as a progressive press. So, when I'm pulling this down, I'm, depriming and resizing a shell. I'm throwing my powder over, and I'm also pre-crimping and folding around all at once. Well, I wouldn't be folding, but I would be pre-crimping. So I would have this one, and this one taken up. And what can happen is, if you're not careful, every now and then you'll forget to have your shell up under here. You'll forget to move it, and you will drop a second primer in this hole. And if you try to load over that, that's going to be a disaster. So that's one of the safety precautions I would caution the user of on this 600 Mark V press by MEC. Besides just using regular common sense, wearing some gloves to keep the lead off of your hands, wearing safety glasses when you're reloading, and not smoking. I happen to drink a beer from time to time, but I have a motto, and after about one or two, I'm done. If I'm going to drink for the night, I'm going to drink for the night. I'd rather live to reload another day than get messed up and, have a boo-boo or an accident or what have you. But for the most part, just keeping static down, because you are working with, powders that are sensitive to static electricity. So just, keeping a clean work area, which I'm a horrible example of right now with this room, but I'm not going to be reloading anytime soon. But it's just basic common sense that leads to a safe experience reloading, and an enjoyable one at that. So, I don't really know however many, I mean, to me, the safety is just so ingrained. It's like muscle memory for me. I guess if I really had to explain it, I would say just wear safety glasses, don't smoke, and just watch what you're doing. If you're starting to get ahead of yourself, you're going to have accidents, you're going to have problems, and that's where you're going to end up hurting yourself. So like on this little MEC press, just with the primer dropping, I'm always looking for that, because I've just known, I've never had anything happen, but I've just known to always look for that because it's always happened to me. And so I don't look at that hole, I don't pull down on the handle without first looking at that hole and inspecting it, or I don't even slide a new shell in there without first looking at that hole and inspecting it. It's just good muscle memory, and any reloader out there is going to get in there and figure out the little idiosyncrasies with each of their presses, and they're going to develop a safety routine based on that. So yeah, there's basics, but there's also press-specific safety routines. That's kind of a little bit hard to discuss in this video without taking up too much time. So anyways, thanks for watching. Looking forward to your comments below, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. God bless America.